Well, yesterday we found out that Trump was picking Ohio Senator JD Vance as his running mate, and I have a little bit to say about it, not that much. First of all, I thought last year, I was pretty convinced that Trump's running mate would be Kristi Noem. I thought he wanted to counter Biden having a female vice president with a female running mate, and I think Noem really destroyed herself with the dog story that was in her horrible book. Having said that, even as we've arrived at these last 2, 3, 4 months, I said, okay, I think it might be Stefanik, right? Because I thought he had ruled out, someone like Huckabee Sanders doesn't want to do it, even though he might be okay with her. And people like, MTG and Lake, they're not going to give him any foreseeable benefits. So in picking Vance, I was not entirely surprised because we got reports of that short list and Rubio was on there. I knew he wasn't going to pick Rubio for both the fact that they live in Florida together, which is like, there's a problem with legally, but also the very nasty way that they treated each other, Trump and Rubio, during the 2016 primary. So I figured it was going to be Vance or the other person, and this pick, there are parts of it I get, right? Like, I think Vance, if you hear him speak, sounds likable, sounds like someone that is like an everyman. I mean, he had this whole hillbilly book that did very well. So this is someone who can at least, I think, in a conversation or dialogue separate from Trump, appear to be like you and I, just in a general sense. Um, the parts of it that have me a little bit kind of like, huh, are that he's from Ohio, and Ohio's a state that is most likely going to Trump anyway. So he's not really helping himself electorally. And actually, that was one of the reasons why I thought him picking Stefanik would have been a good idea, because since he was in Florida, or pretending to live in Florida through Mar-a-Lago, there wouldn't be the dual residency thing. New York is his home state technically, and also there were talks of how, I mean, we saw with Hochul how she didn't really do that well in the gubernatorial election. So Republicans in New York are getting some steam. Maybe not enough to win this year, but certainly with enough time and efforts, I think they can get back to being competitive over there. Um, if I'm just being objective. So I thought picking Vance for the sake of like trying to get an extra state or trying to appeal to people of some swing state and not doing that was kind of goofy. Um, but I have to say, Vance is someone who I don't see where he detracts from Trump. Someone like MTG, someone like Lake, someone like, especially Noam after the dog story, I see where they were like minuses for Trump, right? But you got this young senator, and there is a historical trend of either a young presidential candidate with an older VP, or the other way around. So this follows that trend. I I think he'll do well against Harris in the debates. Like, people are trying to say, oh, Harris is going to wipe the floor with Vance. But in all seriousness, I don't think most of us have heard Vance speak enough, certainly in the debate context, to really know how he would do. Um, and I do think that this pick also is part of Trump's desire, because I've said this before. Whatever happens during this election cycle, it is the end for Biden and Trump, and these presidential candidates, people who are actually feasibly going to be able to run for president in 4 years, are going to be much younger people, in their 40s, 50s, and maybe like a few in their 60s, and even that's pushing it. It's going to be a whole new generation of people that are going to take the reins. And due to the fact that someone like Tucker Carlson, I don't think is going to run, I think Trump is and I do think Carlson would have actually really helped Trump. And there were even reports that Melania wanted Carlson as Trump's VP. But I think if Carlson doesn't run in 2028, Trump is looking at Vance as his supposed successor, who can carry on his supposed MAGA movement, which it's gonna be a really interesting election cycle, that one. But yeah, I don't think Vance getting picked messes Trump up at all. I think there were better people he could have picked if you're just talking about like trying to improve yourself in some swing state. But for the most part, it is about as decent of a selection as you can get when you look at the roster of clowns the RNC was offering.